Hi, and welcome home to You Are the Compass. Last week, I relaunched this podcast and really returned to the core, my own internal compass, and reimagined where this show could lead us, what paths we might come across, and where we could really connect with each other. Over the past 2 years, I've been off around the world, and I've had some amazing experiences, meeting some extraordinary people, and I still am. Though this particular moment and how our upcoming guest and I crossed paths was really quite the humbling experience for me. I found myself on an island in Belize, no job, and quite frankly, running out of funds. A previous coworker of mine connected me to Owen, founder of Fringe Holidays and fellow outdoor adventurer. And whilst I couldn't quite connect the dots then as to how this would lead us here today, life truly does have a unique way of landing in slices. And it's up to us to find ways to cut through that noise and really change those coordinates as often as we need to. It honestly gives me goosebumps to introduce you all to Owen. Welcome to the Compass.
Thanks for having me, Jesse.
It's great to have you on board. It's been a while since we've chatted.
Yeah, it's been a while. We've zigged and zagged a few times and caught up, and then, here we are again.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a good sort of 14 months, and I didn't think I'd be back in Oz, but here we are. As we know, time is everything. And no matter what perspective you have of this man-made construct, if we can share with our listeners, Owen, how you started the idea for Fringe, as in what was your why, your point of turnaround on the compass course, or was it just a slight adjustment?
Well, I was working in Newcastle, in New South Wales, in Australia. I was working a job in travel, and I was doing the mainstream travel. I was a team leader. I had my own team, and we were selling holidays all around the world. And we were selling river cruises, flights, selling Bali holidays, selling Fiji holidays, American family holidays. And I think after 10 years of doing that, I wouldn't say I burnt out, but I lost interest in, would you believe, those sort of mainstream holidays. They just didn't light my fire anymore. But what I did really enjoy was when people came into the store and had these really crazy ideas, like going deep into the Amazon jungle to find themselves, or they wanted to go heliboarding in North Canada, and even just do some crazy holidays that really thought, yeah, that's my jam. That's what I really like to do. I do that in my personal life. I spent pretty much all of my 20s backpacking around the world. So I'd work in Europe, and then when the winter came in Europe, I would go traveling all through Southeast Asia, Mexico, and I did that for years and years and years. So it's kind of what my makeup is, sort of Fringe Holidays. And then it came to me, I was like, why don't you just do this as your own business? Forget all the mainstream, flip it, and then really just, what is the complete opposite of a mainstream holiday? And it was basically Fringe Holidays, and that's kind of where it all started.
Everything extra.
Everything that mainstream isn't doing, basically.
I love that. Yeah, when we had originally connected, I remember us identifying that we'd led very similar flight center careers. And, I was at the point where I wanted to go out and do it on my own. I had felt that I'd had enough of a database, that if I wanted to spend more time on a fully independent travel itinerary for a client, that I could do that and not selling so much of that mainstream point-to-point journeys anymore. And then COVID hit, didn't it?
Yeah, that was a bit of a disaster. But funnily enough, I was kind of lucky. I actually quit Flight Centre 2 weeks before COVID
I
started.
love that.
I gave the keys back and basically just said, you know what, I'm going to go out on my own, and then basically spent 2 or 3 years watching the whole world implode. But now that we're on the other side, it's a lot less busy, it's a lot less noisy. And so yeah, we're forging ahead and going real good, real
Would you
well.
say that, like, people are more in tune with what they want out of an experience post-COVID? Like, they're more mindful of their time, they don't want to be I guess when we used to sell these holidays, or for me anyway, you wanted to go with like-minded people, but that you might find yourself stuck on a bus with, that 50 to 70 age bracket, and they're kind of like the retirees that have done it all, they've worked their whole careers, and now it's like, what's left before we kick the bucket, shall I say? Um, did you find that you just like know that there are people out there now that we've sort of on the other side of COVID that just want to be that little bit extra, have that little bit of fringe in life, but know that it's such a concept of time that they want to maximize what they're doing with it. They're more in tune with what they will and won't accept in a holiday, in experience, in essentially what they want to be about, not just on the holiday, but in their lives moving forward.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I was talking to a lady last night actually, and um, yeah, it's pretty much exactly what you were saying. I think people had so much choice before COVID, and trips were being forced down people's faces, people's throats, that were sort of maximizing profit for companies. So, like your Tripper deals and Groupons, and the travel industry was competing with each other on price, not quality. And I think now that we're on the other side, people are sort of waking up and going, well, hang on a second. I do know what a good trip entails, and I'm not going to settle. They'll be able to explain it a lot better to you so that you're able to get them on that better trip.
Yeah, I guess they'll be able to, like, identify what they want, given the time they've spent with themselves, with their family, with their friends. They're really identifying what they want in an experience, and it doesn't really come down to a monetary value. They care so much about being selective with who they're just surrounding themselves with on that experience.
Yeah, and I think the things that they want to go and see as well. I'm finding that, yeah, pre-COVID, you kind of had a choice of A, B, C holidays, but now people are saying, well, I don't want a choice of A, B, or C. This is what I want. So can you make it happen for me? And then you have to try and research and design their trips and things like that. I think people are a bit more independent and not really looking for, well, my customers anyway, not
Mm.
really looking for your group touring and things like that. They want to go and see ancient cave art in France and things like this. Like stuff that you didn't really knew even what existed before. But now all these things are sort of coming to fruition, I guess, and people are researching things that are interesting to them, and then trying to ask you, well, can you get me here?
The more and more I talk with people, I'm unpacking with them that they just want to be more independent. They want to learn new things and really think for themselves. Now, not only do you uncover the hidden gems and help others to discover a unique world and connection with the people, you are also in ocean surfing as well, aren't you? Was it a school, I think, from memory, or?
Not so much a school, like where people would go and learn to surf, although we can organize guides around the world. Um, and that's more for like intermediate to experienced surfers who want to go. They're on a limited time frame. They might want to go to Peru, for example, which is very wave rich, and they don't want to spend um, 10 days looking in, like, forecasting charts and looking in maps and things like that to find the best waves on the day. They'd rather employ a local guide to take them to the best waves, and that's kind of what we're doing rather than a surf school. But in saying that, we do have on our books lots of surf camps who, like, particularly in Europe, who can cater for beginner surfers. And we've been doing stuff with professional surfers as well. We've made a good collaboration with Surfing Life magazine, and we've been able to send 3 or 4 of their Australian pro surfers, to different destinations and create an article in the magazine. And we've been lucky enough to get three of the last four front cover shots, and then that's associated with the story that goes along with that and the locals that they meet. And then as well, they make Surfing Life have been making um, short 30 to 45-minute movies of the experience as well, which everyone can find on Garage TV and Fuel TV. It just kind of showcases the best of. So like putting the best surfers on the best waves in these really random locations is really good to see on the videos and then hear about their experience. And we couple that with accommodation. So we arrange the accommodation that everybody can book as well. So the benefit is that everybody gets to see this great surfing trip. But not only that, then they can just either get in contact with us and go and experience it for themselves as well.
And sort of tack that onto something else even, if they were already doing something in Indonesia or, over in Europe, that they could have that experience as well as something a bit more bespoke. You do the yoga as well, is that right?
Yeah, so we've got company in Lombok, and they do surf and yoga retreats. There's quite a lot of them actually in Indonesia who combine, because yoga is so good for surfing, like all the stretching and the mind and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it goes really well, and non-surfers can participate in those surf camps as well.
I love that. It's kind of similar route that I'm thinking of with, free diving and diving and a bit of a healing kind of experience to go alongside it. I feel they go hand in hand with having that mindfulness and certain breathing techniques and being present in the moment. It's just so important if you want to, I guess, level up a passion of yours, like surfing, like diving, like snowboarding, whatever it may be. There's definitely like a holistic approach that goes along with it.
Yeah, I mean, people are so busy these days with their life and their work and whatever they're doing. That when they go on holidays, they often want to just relax but still be a little bit adventurous. So those experiences offer a really good combination.
Yeah, and just I guess like re-engaging with that as well. You don't want to be working your whole life to just have 2 or 3 weeks holiday and then you feel like you want to flop and drop on an island. It's
No, those days
I
are
want to go
gone.
off and have adventures and
Yeah,
be present with the locals and get involved in stuff. I've found out, all the jobs that I've had over the years, whether it be like flight center and travel sales, I'm now sat in, a B2B sales role that I just love helping people no matter what I do. If it's active, going out, in the mountains, or it's diving, or even teaching someone a new system at work that seems quite, I guess, normal in air quotes,
yeah.
um, that I just like seeing them get that skill.
Hmm.
To be like, the first person that you've ever taught surfing catches a wave or gets up on the board.
Yeah, it's a
Do you
pretty
teach
special
surfing
feeling.
yourself?
Big pardon?
Do you teach surfing yourself?
Oh yeah, I've taught lots of people how to surf.
Yeah.
Sometimes it ends well, and sometimes it doesn't.
I love
But not a I'm not accredited surfer, no. But uh, a lot of like obviously we sell a lot of surf camps that do have accredited surfers, and even accredited surf camps where you can actually participate. In Sri Lanka, for example, we have a surf school over there where they teach you level 1 and level 2 surf instructing courses, so we can put you on those as well if you want. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So even if someone wanted to take that passion a little bit further in the working sense, they can do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And so sometimes it's just a good idea. Like you might not want to be a surf instructor, but to go and do a surf instructor's course is going to teach you a lot about the basics and make you more knowledgeable. Sort of same like a gym, like personal training in the gym. You can go and be, you can go to the gym and have lots and lots of people train you and things like that. But until you actually, like, you might even go and do a level 2 gym instructor's course with no other reason no intention to teach anybody else but yourself. And it's kind of a sort of a smart way to go about it.
I found like if I was super passionate about a topic or I really resonated with something like diving, I'd go and research that to the hilt, go into your surface air consumption rates and how this breathing pattern is affecting your air consumption at depth and
Mm.
what's happening to your heart rate when that happens, and having like a medical background and such. I just found that so interesting. So I guess it's kind of a similar comparison with if you're passionate about something, you'll go and learn it and be able to onboard and either just have that for your own self-reflection and your own information, or you want to go out and help others and make it
Yeah,
more of your life's work, I guess.
yeah. And then there's the other way of just getting out there and doing it, learning, getting wipeout after wipeout after wipeout.
And like after all these like crazy adventures, like from Flight Center and everything, what would you say like your main why is? Like your innate reason to continue this forward?
My why is because I've been striving for a long time, and I try to design my life around my passions.
Mm.
So surfing is just that. So if I can use my travel knowledge as a professional person who used to sell or still does sell travel, um, plus my own travel knowledge where I've surfed in 11 countries. I just want to be able to just keep doing that. The thought of sitting in an office just drives me bonkers. That's why I'm an outdoors person. And if I can, with Fringe, what we're going to do, it's in the pipeline, is we're going to try and bring a lot. I mean, the surf community is very very strong, but it's still very individual, I guess, if you like. But we're going to try and bring it all together with our new Fringe surf travel marketplace that we're putting together. So yeah,
Yeah, I love
that's
that.
what I want to do. I just I just want to continue traveling um, to all these weird and wonderful places and seeing different people and growing my knowledge and my experiences, and then being able to give people a way to be able to experience that as well. And if I get paid for doing that, then that's great. So
I think you're a lot like me. You're passionate about that connection first and foremost, and then the monetary, the financial side of it is just an aftermath of it. It's like it's a second thought. Yeah, you still survive and you still keep your head above water and do what you need to do to have those passions on the outside, but at the very core, at your very like innate reasoning for existing is that passion, that drive to connect with more people, to just go out and have those experiences and not be sat behind a screen and booking someone else's dreams. It's you got to go out and kind of live them yourself.
yeah, and then come back and tell the story.
True, true.
Yeah. Then use that experience to then say, "Hey, I just went to Sri Lanka, or I went to India, or Thailand, or Ireland, or something." You know, I, I know what it sounds like. I know what it looks like. I know what it smells like. I know, what the people are like, so I can tell you with confidence and go, "Yep, that will be an unreal holiday for you."
And do you know there's those people out there that you just meet and you tell them like even just a little snippet of your life and what you've done and had this extreme adventure, and they give you the glazed over look and they're like, "Oh my god, like I could never even imagine doing something like that, or that's just so out of my scope." What would your like advice be to the listeners for that? Like how could they add Fringe to their own internal coordinates to start off in, I guess, having these adventures? And that just might mean going out for a weekend trip, if they're in Sydney and in the city, like going out on the weekends more, or
Um,
having more time with the family, switching off, like what would your little tidbit of advice be?
I think you've got to number one, you've got to want to do it,
Yeah.
and number two, you can't be scared. Like I think fear or excuses hold a lot of people back. I can't do it because I can't afford it. I can't do it because of this. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. But when you change your attitude from I can't to I'm going to or how can I do this, then that's when things happen, and then it becomes easier and easier the more and more you do it, and then it yeah, and then like if you're a kind of person who is um like struggling with that, maybe just try to do 4 adventurous things in a year, for example,
Mm.
and then maybe next year do 6 or something like that.
Yeah, I know for me, like when I sort of changed up my whole life like 3.5 years ago, I was married, I had a house and, a good job, and I kind of, blew it all up. But I had to make little decisions every day. I had to take joy in being present in even the most simplest of moments, like actually taking the 2 minutes to just brush my teeth and not be having a hyperactive mind and having all this stuff at my desk and saying, oh, what can I do now? Like, I've got this to do. I've got 6 other things on the go today. It was actually just sort of scaling it back and being like, okay, what is most important now? What needs my undivided attention? That doesn't require urgency right now. And I think once you make those decisions at such a simple level, um, the bigger ones don't seem so scary anymore. So having an adventure and going off in the wilderness for 10 days, in the jungle at PNG might sound quite extreme now, but if we really look at it, what are the steps we need to get there in order to make that happen? And break it down, segment it down. This is what I can do today to get me that much further down the line. And it may never happen as that extreme adventure, but the things that you find out about yourself along the way, I find that there's beauty in that.
Hmm. Yeah, I also think as well, like if we want to talk about adversity or tough times to try and get yourself through things, usually I kind of live by the mantra of like a 14-day or 2-week mantra. And what
Mm.
I mean by that is no matter how bad things are today, in 2 weeks' time, they will be so much different and so much better. So if you can just go, well, okay, I might have broken up with my partner or, things are bad, I've lost my job or whatever. In 2 weeks' time, you'll look back on it and go, oh, what was I worried about? Like things will be, things always change so much better in just 2 weeks.
Mm.
So you might
Why,
think, oh,
why 2 weeks? Why 2 weeks?
I don't know.
What's
It's just, it's just a number that seems to work. Like I've said it to mates before who, like, something's happening. Oh, mate, just give it 2 weeks, you'll be right. And sure enough, they come back and go, man, how did you? I don't know. It's just like it's just enough time for somebody to be in their head, like this is not forever.
Yeah.
Whatever you're dealing with is not forever, and it's far enough away that when you look back on it, it's there's a time there's enough time has gone past for you to put the steps in place to change things, and you go, oh yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, that was better.
Do you know, I kind of look at it as, and someone once told me, you just need to see 6 steps in front of you.
Mm,
And that's not taking into account, logistics. If you've got a home loan and it's sort of like 20 years down the track, oh, I need to make those repayments or whatever it may be. Where are you here right and now? And kind of like the analogy, if you're driving down a road, it's at night, and you only have one headlight and you don't have the high beams on, you only need to see just the stretch in front of you and you can still get home. You just got to like take a minute, take a beat. Where am I at right now? What needs my undivided attention? Like you said, 2 weeks, it's going to look totally different.
Yeah,
But
because you'll have already be home. You'll have fixed the light. You'll,
yeah,
everything, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that time.
yeah, I used to get so caught up in like the small things. The bigger things never used to be a problem for me. I'd be like, yep, there's ways in which to work it out, but something that was happening to me instantly, I used to get really annoyed and frustrated in the moment. And I don't know, I feel that that's what surfing, adventure, even yoga with meditation, if you can get on board with that, um, that you're just in that present moment. It's a little bit for you. You're not worrying about getting dinner on for the kids at home. You're not worried about your work that you've got to go to next week. You're
Absolutely.
just worried about the feed in front of you, or if you're in the ocean, just what you've got in front of you to deal with. And I find that quite enlightening, I guess, doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Surfing is, oh, it's something else. It can turn the worst day into the best day ever just by within 15 minutes of just being in the ocean, moving your body, feeling the water, feeling the sun, feeling all these different feelings, and then catching a wave or wiping out and having a bit of a giggle about it, and then paddling back out and waiting for the next one.
Do you remember your first, like, surfing, like, when you first got on a board?
Yep.
When was it?
Um, I was probably I was surfing as a young kid, and but not really surfing. But when I first jumped on a board properly, I was probably about 14. So I was starting surfing really late compared to
Yeah, okay.
pro surfers and things like that, because we lived probably about half an hour drive from the beach. So I didn't really get that. I wasn't living two
Right
or, two or three blocks away from the beach and grew up surfing every day after school. I was a motorbikes kid. I
got
yeah, dirt bikes. Yeah, and then yeah, we would go to the beach every weekend to visit our cousins. Um, yeah, and
And
that's
do you
kind
remember, like, what it was when you, like, first got on the bike or you first saw, like, a pro surfer on TV or something? Like, what feeling you had that just engaged you so much to wanna take that further or wanna do what they did?
I don't think there was any particular time, because, like I said, we'd been going to the beach since I was a kid, and it
Mm,
was kind of just maybe I just remember going to the beach with my sister, and we would always be body surfing, and
yeah.
we would have competitions to see who could catch the biggest wave. So we would always be out the back further than everybody else, waiting for the biggest wave, and we'd be scrambling to try and catch the biggest wave. Um, and then it kind of just went from there, always just trying to catch bigger and bigger waves. Okay. Then you then you throw a board underneath you, and it's even more exhilarating because you're not body surfing it, you're actually riding it.
Yeah, true.
And then that feeling is like, "Oh my god, I'm moving like I'm riding a wave," and then that feeling is just addictive.
It's nearly indescribable unless someone's had that same thought pattern, and even their perception and perspective is gonna be different. I know, like, for me, I've been around the water, like, since I was born. My dad launched, the boat that he's on now that he built when I was 2,
Mm,
uh, and we were just always in the water as kids. We used to do sailing charters for 3 months of the year,
yeah.
and would just always be around it, and just remembered having those childhood memories of you just feel so calm in the water. It's a very calming experience, but also you can have your own little adventure in your head. You can go off and, dive as deep as you can. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, pretty similar experiences.
indeed. Exciting times. Look, Owen, we're going to wrap it up now, I think. Can I list in the show notes where our listeners can reach out to you, how they can connect for a bit of fringe in their lives?
Yep, absolutely. Fringeholidays.com.au. You'll find that.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's all.
I'll link them in there for the guests.
Yeah, unreal.
Well, it was lovely to have you on. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we can set our coordinates to catch up again and unpack something else.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. Look forward to it.
Sounds good. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, listeners, for being a part of our show today. Great to chat with Owen from Fringe Holidays and really get an insight to the man beyond the fringe. When I first reached out to Owen when I was in Belize, it was such a realization and inspiration that my own creative ideas will and do speak to people, that there is a time and place for everything. And metaphorically speaking, go out and keep chasing my own perfect wave, because while waiting for it in the set, there is always another on the horizon. We actually kept chatting after this stream was cut, and I just wanted to share this with you all here. I asked people, what is your why? And it usually stops people in their tracks. They don't know how to answer. Why, as in my reason for existing? And my reply is quite direct with no, as in why do you do what you do now in this present day? And Owen actually gave me that light bulb watershed moment, as I call it. The real why is I am living my passions. And what my question is now to you all, how are you all living your passions? And what does the why look like for you?